Throughout history, demonstrations have been used as a powerful tool of change. They are a testament to the voice of the people and a testament to the strength of democracy. So, where did demonstrations begin and why are they so essential? Let's begin. Demonstrations have ancient roots. The earliest recorded protest dates back to 494 BC in Rome, known as the secession of plebs, where commoners protested for political rights. Over the centuries, protests have become a cornerstone of democratic societies, allowing citizens to express dissent, demand justice, and advocate for change. In democratic countries, demonstrations are crucial. They provide a platform for marginalized voices, promote accountability, and can lead to significant societal improvements. History is replete with examples of successful demonstrations. The civil rights movement in the United States, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., ended segregation and secured voting rights for African Americans. Similarly, the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 was the result of peaceful protests that led to the reunification of Germany, symbolizing the triumph of democracy over dictatorship. However, not all demonstrations lead to positive change. Some end in tragedy. The Tiananmen Square protests of 1989 in China saw peaceful protesters calling for political reform, only to be met with brutal repression. These events remind us of the risks involved in standing up for one's beliefs and the harsh realities faced by demonstrations in non-democratic regimes. Political protests in Kenya date back to the colonial period and continued after independence. Kenyans have in the past braved police crackdowns and brutality to demonstrate against corruption, political assassinations, autocracy, and the status quo that has kept a majority of citizens in poverty during the first president, Jomo Kenyatta, and his second successor, Daniel Arap Moi's tenure. Citizens have taken to the streets over constitutional change, engaged in hunger strikes to free political prisoners, and return the country that had been turned by Moi into a one-party state in 1982 back to democracy. Countrywide protests held in the 1990s, as well as the pressure from civil society, religious groups, and Western donors, forced Moi to accede to multi-party politics in 1991. Demonstrations seeking to address corruption and autocracy were largely led by civil society and religious leaders, such as the late Nobel laureate, environmental and political activist, Professor Wangari Maathai, Reverend Timothy Njoya, and others. These were met with horrific crackdowns by the police, leading to loss of life and livelihoods. In the past, the political elite have been accused of using demonstrations as a means of self-preservation and to pursue their selfish interests, such as after the 2007, 2013, and 2017 elections, where protests were seen to be about getting opposing political personalities to come to an agreements that stifled healthy debate and entrenched tribalism and stunted the growth of the country. The youth in Kenya and around the world are protesting significant changes because they face the brunt of economic and social policies. They're demanding a future where they have opportunities, fair treatment, and a voice in their country's direction. The youth in Kenya, particularly the Gen Zs, have previously been criticized, presumed to have little interest in politics, and governance issues. However, after taking the front line in protests against the Finance Bill 2024 that began on the 18th of June 2024, under the Occupy Parliament banner in Nairobi and spread countrywide, the youth have emerged as a political force to be reckoned with.
I'm fighting for the rights of Kenyan youth. Majority of them are Gen Z. The millennials gave up on us, but Gen X are our parents. Gen X actually taught us to fight for our rights.
We as the youth we are now up, our voice counts right now. They used to say that youth don't vote, but right now we are here. We've woken up,
I think the demonstrations involving the youth are pretty significant now because unlike before where we've had like older people leading the demonstrations, people in civil society, people, religious leaders leading, and politicians. It's never been seen before, people this young, Gen Zs, between 18 and 25 years old, leading this. It's unprecedented in the country, and it means that these Gen Zs that we thought care nothing about politics and leadership and government are really waking up. Before they have never really been seen as, they've been seen to have voter apathy and no interest, but now we can see they're really interested and they're really taking up the mantle, unlike the past. So I think we are seeing a change, and this could actually lead to a change in the country's direction in terms of politics and economics and even the next elections.
Yeah, we'll take those who don't have IDs, they'll take IDs, they'll vote. Coming 2027, we know the names of the MPs who didn't vote yet. They voted yes. We know their names. We'll make sure they go home 2027. And the whole government of, they say there's a quote, someone wrote it outside there that serikali ya majambazi, they'll go home.
I believe the impact the finance bill will have on the average Kenyan citizen is actually very bad and poor. Because I remember when Ruto was running for elections, part of his campaign was saying he's going to lower taxes, and he made a lot of promises to the youth that he has really broken throughout his term in office. He has not held up to most of what he said in his campaign.
Serikali ya 2022 itaundwa na mahasla. Hawa mama mboga hawa, watu ya bodaboda hawa, wale wa kuuza kiosk, wale watu wa chini, ndio wataunda serikali ya 2022.
Ile mnahitaji ni bundles, alafu mnaendesha mambo yenu mbele. Na tumesema ya kwamba hiyo bundles haitakuwa shida kwa sababu tutahakikisha kwamba kuna free internet in every ward.
Looking at the cost of living and how many Kenyans are every day sinking below the poverty line, I think it takes a courageous government to sit down with our development partners, fairly reasonable people, and have a discussion. Look at the taxes, because 50% almost of the cost of fuel in Kenya is taxes. I think we need to rethink taxation, VAT taxation on fuel.
The taxes. Kenyans are already heavily taxed. We know that under the previous regime, there were a lot of loans taken up, and now we are being forced to pay for that. There was a finance bill of 2023 which increased taxes, and now we are seeing now this new regime coming up with even more tax.
The finance bill 2023-2024 didn't work for us. Then why would they introduce finance bill 2024-2025, which we haven't seen the results from the 2023-2024? So I felt like we should have tried to work with the one that was there, see how we can bring change in anything but not, there's someone who say that you can't expect to get milk from a cow that you've not fed. The government hasn't fed this economy, If you consider the job opportunities that the government has offered from the time they were voted in, man, there are no jobs. And we know each year graduates ni wengi. So many graduates are getting out of this, of the campuses, the colleges, and there's no job. So we can't tell a young person who doesn't have a job to pay taxes. How? Yeah, so that's why I think that's why the youth are so angry, because it's frustrating when you don't have a job and you still have to file returns, you still have to pay taxes, you still have to bear with the rise of cost of living, rent, transportation, everything. Yeah, gava inamkanga tu kila siku kaamua tu tunapandisha. Kuna siku atarudisha chini.
Things that are necessities, bread, sanitary towels, for heaven's sake, fuel, which we know affects everything else. If you add onto the fuel taxes, you're increasing taxes on everything else and costs. Kenyans are already tired of the cost of living, and now we are pushing them to the brink. So I think the finance bill cannot stand and should not be allowed to stand. And I'm happy that the Gen Z is knowing that the suffering their families are going through, even their parents, I'm sure they're watching their parents and the cost of living and how it's affecting their families. I'm happy that they're taking this up.
Basically the bill, it's as we say as the youth, you know, the future is for us, the youth, because if you say like my father, my mom, soon they'll retire and go home, you know. So as the bill passes, it means that in the coming 4 or 5 years, I'll be the one who will be hurt the most, you know. And let them say that they have removed some clause in that bill, but you can't say you've given someone with this left hand and then take it to the right hand and then say you've solved anything, you know. Because once you've touched in the fuel prices, there's no way you've solved anything, because they've said they've removed the clause of pads, bread, on transportation and everything. But you see the reduce of that they've added on the fuel. So it's the same thing. It's still hurting the common mwananchi, you know.
He's put us in more debt with IMF. He has sent more troops to different countries to fight wars without enough reliable resources. He has lied to the public.
Serikali ya Kenya Kwanza itapunguza gharama ya maisha. Tutahakikisha kwamba watoto wetu milioni 5 wako na ajira.
Mwaka huu tunaweka bilioni 100 kupanga ajira ya hawa vijana wetu hawa. Mwaka huu tunaweka bilioni 50 pesa ya serikali katika biashara ya watu wadogo hawa, ili tupunguze gharama ya gas. Tumesema tunaondoa ushuru. Namba 2, ile mtungi mnanunua kuanzia mwezi wa 6, hiyo mtungi itatoka shilingi 2,800 mpaka shilingi 500 ama 300. We are going to increase the number of children in our primary schools under the school feeding program from 1.6 million children to 4 million children. To period poverty by providing sanitary pads and sanitary towels to all our girls, and that is for free. I commit to provide mothers of newborn babies with diapers for their children for a minimum of 3 months, paid for by the government of Kenya.
And I don't want to date back to older history, but Ruto has a history. During Uhuru's term in office, during Uhuru's first term in office, when they were campaigning still, Ruto was being tried at Hague in the ICC for apparently some murders that happened in the early 2000s, 2007. Being tried for those mass killings. And when him and Uhuru became leaders, he became vice and Uhuru became president, the story just stopped. They were still being trialed, but it stopped hitting the Kenyan media, and very few people know what happened to that trial. I think mostly because they got power, they were able to maneuver their way out of the consequences of their actions.
Man, youth, as a youth, you're the energy of the country. There's no way to say you sit at home, okay, you're not involved. In any way, everyone is involved in politics. the leader you choose today decides your future tomorrow.
I think majority of the country saw that we are the future, Gen Z is the future. I think, I'm not sure about the numbers exactly, but we were over, I'm gonna say 5 to 15,000 Kenyans just here in Nairobi city, and there were protests still happening in Coast, in Kisumu, in different parts of the country there were protests, and I think majority of the government had seen that we are the mass. We actually have a big say in where this country goes and where this country is going to be taken. So people in government need to understand that the decisions they make now, if they affect us, it will have serious repercussions on them themselves, on their families, on their well-being, on their living status, because if we are not happy, for sure they will not be happy.
So if you don't vote in any way, any decision that will be made by the government will equally affect you. So what I can say, the youths are the majority. At the majority, you have a say today. Go outside there, speak up your mind in a safe and a way that you feel like you can speak. If you can't go out, you have your social media handles. Yeah, so many youth people they have social media handles that are active. They have followers. So speak out in your social medias. Let people know that we are not happy with this government. We're not happy with the finance bill. We need to have a change.
I think it's very important for the youth to be involved, though starting from at least the age of 18, where you can legally vote, because you now have a say in the leaders of the country and the leaders of tomorrow. And we ourselves, we are the leaders of tomorrow. So if we are not being shown the right way to lead the nation, obviously, can I curse? And since they're up, they'll make it our purpose to not do the mistakes they have done. And that's what we are trying to do now. We are trying to undo the promises that Ruto has broken. Basically, it's good for us to participate in these kind of things because it gives us a voice, it gives us a platform to speak for ourselves, it gives us a platform to represent our ideologies that stand with making the country a better place. Because if you look at the global scale on the world map, Kenya is on the map. A lot of people on a global scale know us for, let's say, our athletics, they know us for our music, they know us for different things. And now when it comes to political views, they are starting to shun us because they are seeing that politically we are not handling ourselves properly as a country. So if the youth is the future and you're trying to mess up the youth, then there'll be nothing left in the end. You know what I'm saying?
I believe the government should listen to this new generation. They should know that things are not the way they were before. The status quo cannot remain. Things are changing. We have seen Gen Zs now, because I think they've grown up with technology, they're able to organize and they're able to, if they decide to go to the streets, if they decide to fundraise, if they decide they want change, they're able to communicate this amongst themselves. So I think the government should listen to the Gen Zs. They should not just assume that they are, that they don't care anymore. They should realize that they are forced to reckon with, and they should not ignore anything that they bring to the table. They should sit down with them and come up with solutions. And the Gen Zs, my advice would be, don't just think that these issues will be solved in the streets. Get into the system, get into politics, get involved in elections, vote, form your political parties, and for sure you'll be able to influence change that way.
Why are you arresting me? Give me a reason. I protest because you're killing us.
Who is killing you?
You police. You're killing us in our communities. Poor communities. Why do you want to arrest me? People's power! People's power! People's power! When we lose our fear, they lose their power! When we lose our fear, they lose their power! When we lose our fear, when we lose our fear,
So stay informed and stay engaged. And remember, the change begins with you. My name is Jonathan Mushira, and this has been CNC Productions, Voices of Change.